You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
What?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
Today, the developers from Paradox Arctic are pulling back the curtain on their new Galactic Paragons DLC. We're going to be finding out all about the new leaders, new leader traits, the new council mechanics, and I think something people have wanted for a while, the new ruler designer screen. We've got a lot to get through, so let's just dive straight in. From the very beginning of development, Paradox Arctic have been following one simple mantra when it comes to this DLC. Make leaders matter. XM, the lead designer of Galactic Paragons, is here to tell us more about that. What we're going to hear about today is the result of months of work following that direction. First and foremost, we're going to be getting a reduced leader count. For leaders to start being significant, there needed to be a lot less of them. With this goal in mind, the developers removed the research scientist positions currently in the game, and they combined all of them into a single head of research council position. Yes, you heard me correctly. It seems like no longer will we have an individual scientist on each of our research categories. They also allowed leaders to perform council duties while maintaining their field positions, be that being a governor or an admiral or anything like that. These changes dramatically reduce the number of leaders that you need to keep track of. Lowering this leader count enabled Paradox Arctic to make these leaders a lot more powerful individually. To deepen the emergent narrative weaved with these new heroes, the developers improved upon the leader interface to give us better insight into their past and how they came into service. You can now see their homeworld, previous job, and even the ethical alignment of each leader. I personally think this is really, really cool. For example, here we have Carax, a materialist governor from the arid world of Locur, where he previously held the position of bureaucrat. There are so many more improvements to leaders that XM, the lead designer, wants to share with us, but he has to cede his time here to his amazing design team, who are smarter and can better explain their ideas of development in more detail. We now get to hear from Carl, a designer at Paradox Arctic, who's here to tell us about some of the features that he has been responsible in the upcoming Galactic Paragons DLC. However, none of them would have been possible without the hard work and dedication of his beloved colleagues. The Empire Council is the heart of your government. Every game, the council starts out with just 3 seats, one for your ruler, one for the head of research, and one for the Minister of Defense. Each position gives a unique Empire-wide bonus that scales with the skill level of the assigned leader. For example, the head of research, much like previous researcher positions in your Empire, gives 2% research speed per level as a bonus. With Galactic Paragons, they've also added a lot of new traits. Some of these traits are council traits, which are applied to your Empire entirely, but only if the leader is on the council. We'll hear more about traits in a little bit. This way, you get to decide which bonuses you want active by switching your councillors. To get as many bonuses as possible, you will also want to expand your council. Everyone, including those that don't buy Galactic Paragons, so if you only get the free patch I'm talking about, will have access to basic council. But if you do get Galactic Paragons, you'll be able to unlock 3 more positions for your council throughout the game. This would bring you to a total of 6 possible council members. What positions you'll have access to maps directly onto your civics. As an example, Idealistic Foundation Civic enables the Tribune of Rights Councillor. This councillor, as we can see, has an Empire-wide effect of reducing pop amenities usage by -1.5% per skill level. I suspect they've used this new council position and this new bonus to rebalance some of the previously underlooked civics that tended to be a bit bland or a bit powerless. I'm very interested to see what they've done across the board actually. This means though that in total they have added 95 unique council positions for the council to match your empire design. This should make it look and feel different every time you play, including unique ruler bonuses which depend on what kind of authority you have. An example here is the stronger an imperial ruler becomes, the more power projection they will generate. Maximum influence from power projection will go up by plus 0.25 for every level of your emperor. On top of that, they wanted to make the kind of empire you are running stand out even more. And for that reason, they have crafted unique council screen backdrops for each of the authority types. I believe that means we are getting 6, though possibly it could be 7 in total, depending on what they're doing for Gestalt. And if you're enjoying this video, please grant the like button a seat on your council. Now let's look at council agendas. Another important feature for the council is that they pursue an agenda that you, the player, have set for them. The moment you assign an agenda to the council, it will give a small bonus, but it takes several years before it is ready to be launched, and then you can get the full effects from it. This will require you to be somewhat strategic in your planning if you, for example, expect to go to war. Here we can see the effect of military build-up. Initially, you'll get minus 5% to ship cost, ship energy upkeep, and war exhaustion gain, but when you finally launch it, you'll get a whopping minus 20% ship build cost, as well as 20% of each of the others. This will reduce RNG massively, and I think this is a big improvement to empire authorities that were not oligarchic. With oligarchic in the past, we could choose a new ruler every 20 years, we could pick one of 4 and thus pick from 4 agendas. Now, our agendas will not be tied directly into the ruler we get, eliminating RNG problems, for instance for imperial types, and also finally giving meaningful agendas to democratic empires. You will only be able to pursue one agenda at a time, but once an agenda is finished, you then gain the full benefits for another 10 years. The more councillors you have, and the higher their skill level, the faster you can complete an agenda, while for a huge empire it takes a bit longer to finish. I believe this means that empire size will directly be tied into how long it takes us to complete an agenda. Thus, this should be a bonus for tall empires. At the start of the game, you have very few agendas to pick from, as they are tied to the ethics of your empire. But if you have Galactic Paragons, you will get a new agenda for every tradition tree you unlock. This should further change up the balance and power of every tradition tree in the game. These are all tied to the theme of the traditions. This also might incentivize you to go wide with traditions rather than finish them one at a time, because as I said, you get to have that agenda when you unlock the tradition, not when you complete it. We also get to have a little look here at the new aptitude tradition. You unlock the agenda leadership conditioning, which I assume is going to be beneficial to your leaders. You get reduced leader upkeep, and the finisher effect here will grant you +1 leader starting traits, and of course, as usual, an ascension perk. We don't quite know how powerful the leaders are yet, but given it's the main focus of this DLC, we can imagine that they're going to be really powerful, and maybe aptitude and also lots of those leader traits we used to ignore in the civilization design screen are going to be really useful as well. I'm looking at you, enduring, quick learners, and talented. Let's hope you're actually either reworked or just simply more powerful. For those of you that don't want to play normie bio empires, for those of you who are machine or hive mind mains, you've probably been terrified so far that this new council feature will not be for you. Let me put those fears to rest. Introducing the Gestalt Council. The devs felt that the council feature didn't sit that well with the Gestalt fantasy, but also didn't want these players to feel completely left out. Now, Gestalt players can directly level up and design not only their ruler, but 4 new nodes of the consciousness too. These are a little less flexible, but on the other hand, they are entirely immortal. What we're looking at here, I assume, is a Fanatic Purifier Empire. That's why the leader is called Executor, probably. Then we have a Growth Node, an Expansion Node, a Cognitive Node, and finally a Deviant Suppression Node. I think that the fact that these are all immortal and thus will just level up more and more as the game goes on might end up being a little bit broken. Specifically with Progenitor Hive Mind that will be getting passive leader level experience. I don't know if those will also coincide with these nodes, but if they do, oh boy, it's going to be scary. That wraps up everything we've been told about the Council so far. Now let's look at the actual leader rework and how our leaders are going to be interacting in-game. For that we have Marek, our new fancy self-appointed title, and barely known, I guess he should talk more on the forums like Offer, this is his comments not mine, content designer from Paradox Arctic. He will try to warm the climate with some hot takes on the upcoming features for Galactic Paragons. Prepare your tea, coffee, or anything really, and let's deep dive into the new systems and features, both free and paid. For those renegades amongst us that choose to forego getting Galactic Paragons, your level system will look fairly similar with a few changes. All leaders will be capped at level 10, leaders will always get a trait every 2 levels starting from level 1 for a total of 5 traits, and every trait will be randomized from common pool traits. There will be a new tiered system for these traits. Common traits and negative traits will have 2 tiers each. That, I believe, means we'll get a lower class version and an upgraded tier 2 version. As you see, the free patch leaders will still be much more powerful than before, having a total of 5 traits. But Galactic Paragon leaders will achieve a power level of over 9,000. That's literally what it says in the dev diary. I'm assuming that's meant to be the reference. But I don't think it's meant to be that we actually get 9,000 traits. Maybe there's an XP thing. I'm slightly confused and hoping it's a reference to power level 9,000. Anyway, for those who choose to embrace Galactic Paragons, the leveling system will give far more flexibility. Leaders get new trait picks every level, and players can choose the trait from a randomized pool that is based on class, veteran class, and ethic. Here we can see an example of this. Either you can choose to take your Trickster to level 2, you can choose to take the Politician trait or the Entrepreneur trait. Don't forget that unless their homeworld is the Entrepreneur homeworld, they'll only be a sparkling capitalist. On level 4, leaders will get to choose from veteran classes, which give access to different types of veteran traits. Every class has 3 veteran classes, which are centered around different bonuses and their leader actions. Given that we have 4 leader types, that means we have 12 veteran classes. Each veteran trait also has 3 tiers. Once you get to level 8, which is very high, your leaders will get 1-time destiny traits. This powerful trait represents a leader finding their destiny within the galaxy. Here is an example of a potential level 10 leader with Galactic Paragons. Their destiny trait, I believe, is the one on the furthest left. They then have 5 regular traits and, unfortunately, 1 negative trait. Ironically, that one is the one that stops you leveling up, but they're already at level 10, so basically middle finger to you, universe, I guess? Unfortunately, we don't yet know what on earth we're talking about with the veteran and destiny thingies. Well, for owners of Galactic Paragons, there will be almost 700, yes I did say that, 700, apparently they decided to stay humble with this number, traits, including their tiered versions. There are a whole bunch of new common traits, but the bulk of new content is gated behind the DLC. Here we can see some of the new traits. I'm assuming we've got a whole bunch of destiny traits here, plus some of the veteran traits. Lots of new icons. I've got no idea what basically any of them do. This is going to be awesome. To go into a bit more detail about these new traits, they are divided into 3 categories: common, veteran, and destiny. The one that comes with the free patch, most of these are updated versions of old traits as well, by the way, are the common traits. They will be the bread and butter for free patch players, as leaders will be getting them every 2 levels. For DLC owners, they represent the first 3 levels for the new leaders and their journey to power. Here we can see the emotional support pet. Your leader gets plus 10 years lifespan and maximum negative traits -1. I hope it has a doggo for an icon, and yeah, that's really awesome. That's pretty cute. Veteran traits are only available to players with the new DLC. They will cover every level from 5 to 10, and as mentioned before, their pool for a given leader is dependent on leader ethic and on their veteran class. They are more powerful than common traits. As an example here, we get to see Geomapper, which is for veteran leaders who are scientist class. It will grant a planet effect while assisting research of plus 0.25 minerals from miners. That's actually pretty powerful just for a single leader, and I'm actually kind of scared to see what the rest of these are if that's just kind of a run-of-the-mill veteran trait. At the very end of the spectrum, we have destiny traits, which are generally 1 per leader. However, in some edge cases, you might end up with leaders that have 2 of these because you could get an event-based destiny trait as well. These represent the peak of this given leader, and as such, leaders get the destiny trait on level 8. Here we have the Xeno Mediator, a destiny trait for governors. This gives a planet effect of 1% additional amenities per species on the planet, 1% additional happiness per species on the planet, and a flat 20% pop growth from immigration. Any multicultural, multi-species empire would do very well with one of these, especially if you could get an ecumenopolis with, I don't know, say 50 or 60 different species all put in there. I wonder if subspecies count as well, because then maybe you might want to mod lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different subspecies to try and get that bonus stacking up. If you could, that would be pretty nasty. But for the rest of you who aren't blinded by xenophilia, what even is this? The more species, the better. The trait? It's just absolute madness. As a quick note though, there needs to be a little disclaimer in here. Gestalt leaders operate slightly differently than what we've just gone through. Rather than gaining destiny traits, they instead get more veteran trait picks. They don't have individual destinies like the standard empires do. Yet again, unfortunately, it seems that DLCs are going to be benefiting regular empires in terms of flavor, in terms of doing things, more than hive minds or machine empires. And that is a little bit of a shame. Now let's find out about the veteran classes. So veteran class is a paid feature from Galactic Paragons, and it will allow you to customize your leaders even more. Every leader will get to choose from 3 veteran classes once they reach level 4, bringing the number of veteran classes to a total of 12, as previously mentioned. Here we can see an example for scientists. You can either be an explorer, an analyst, or a researcher. Each veteran class will focus on different aspects of your leader. Picking the proper veteran class is paramount to utilizing your leader in a way that you want them to fulfill. For example, analyst leader will get the veteran trait associated around assist planetary research action, while researcher will get veteran traits focused on the council. You can see the veteran class icons in the UI here. For example, this head of research is an explorer. If we look on the left hand side, that is the symbol shown there. Whereas Kashnaka, who is only level 1, does not have any veteran class because you can't get that until you're at level 4. It also seems pretty clear to me now that for every level our leaders have, they will cost 2 unity upkeep. Now that upkeep can be modified up and down a bit by various things across our empire, increasing or decreasing leader upkeep, but it will be a base of 2 unity per leader level, which is actually quite high. Leaders are getting more powerful, their traits are getting better, but negative traits are still sticking around. Every leader is randomized with negative trait potential. The bigger the potential, the more and faster negative traits will accumulate on this given leader. we will not be able to see what their negative potential is before hiring them. It's just like hiring somebody in the real world, I suppose. With luck, you will find leaders with 0 negative potential, but you never know what it will be until your leader suddenly comes home with a new set of negative traits and starts to steal your resources to open up a new casino in his basement. I hope and pray that is actually an event that fires in the game. That would be amazing. Please, developers, tell me that we can get casino in the basement because of a corrupt leader event firing. Please. To go along with this leader rework, we have a new leader cap system. Leaders are now vastly more powerful than before, so they've decided to introduce a soft leader cap. Just like with naval capacity, leaders will grow more expensive when empires are above their cap. It might take some time to get used to, but gone are the days when in the early game it is viable to send out 20 science ships to explore the galaxy. This does also allow for players to make meaningful choices, however. Creating an economy based on strong governors is a viable strategy, just as well as making a strong navy based on many high-level admirals. In the humble opinion of this developer, this change somewhat favours smaller empires, which might feel less incentivized to go over their leader cap to fill all the roles, while huge empires will need to take choices on, for example, governor placements or going over their leader cap. This also reminds me of Stellaris 1.0, where we used to have a leader cap in. Just like multiple FTL systems, everything seems to be coming full circle. And now something to finish our little trip into this leader madness, and oh boy is this next bit pretty wild. You've heard of Empire Creator, well how about Ruler Creator? Marek disliked the fact that he couldn't choose his starting ruler trait, especially on dictatorial and imperial empires. Now, however, he won't have to restart the game every time he gets a trait he doesn't like. Coders wept when he designed this, but UX was more than happy to come up with the layout. Apparently, you just can't make everyone happy, I suppose. And here we have it. Here is what you can choose. You can choose between the leader class of your ruler. You can then also pick their first trait. This is pretty wild. Right now there is only a limited number of traits to choose from, but the developers decided to not overwhelm players with new choices here. They should be hunting for new civics instead. This, along with the new agenda system, I think is going to have a massive impact on gameplay. We're going to be able to choose our agendas now and design our empire ruler right from the get-go and pick their starting trait. I am all for this. Anything which puts decision making into the hands of players is definitely a good thing, and I'm definitely in favor of it. What do you think about this new ruler creator? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. To wrap up this developer diary, Marek is going to talk about one last change that will be present in both the free patch and the DLC. It's a change that will affect your empire and your leaders, but it's not directly about the leaders. With the new trait system and reworked leaders and caps and all of this, the developers decided that the governor trait should only apply to the planet that leader currently sits on. But as the game had this nice feature of sector governors as well, they wanted to use this system rather than just removing it. So now, if you would like to see the potential career of a governor, it would be planet governor, sector governor, councillor, and finally empire ruler. But how does this new sector governor thingy work? Whenever you assign your governor to a sector capital planet, his level will apply bonuses to every planet in this sector, in a way just like it used to be. You can always override the sector governors by putting a proper planetary governor here. Just remember that leader traits do not work on sectors. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to balance out. I think this basically means the trait only works on the planet the governor is sitting on, but the bonuses from the level, so the percentage increases to resources, reduction to crime, that sort of thing, will affect every single colony in this sector. And that's why, as you can see here, we have the top image, which is a governor placed on this sector capital, a mining world, and then another world which is within that sector where it notes the sector governor's existence, but you could also assign a regular governor. And there's also some illegal screenshot that's been thrown in. Molten mineral rivers, minus 30% habitability, +1 minerals from miners, and plus 0.2 volatile motes from miners. Those are actually some pretty nice bonuses when we take into account in the late game how many multiplicative bonuses we can stack on top of that. We can basically ignore that minus 30% habitability, for example, by just turning on the mining edict. That will put us at a net of plus 35% resources from jobs for our miners. Some of these traits are definitely looking pretty darn spicy. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to know more about the new Stellaris Galactic Paragons DLC, click the video on screen now.